This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for the very good feedback. So yesterday, majority of the people who has joined has given a very good feedback about the session. I appreciate each and every one. So before I start the session, I just want to confirm that the batch timings are from Monday to Saturday, morning 7:30 to 9 o'clock if you are in India. And if you are in US, Sunday to Friday, night 9 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern are the timings. Also, as a part of the training, what all we get is something which we already demonstrated. So since yesterday is a demo session, I would like to demonstrate what are we going to cover as a part of the training, and then we'll proceed further. Okay, so guys, yesterday we are talking about why cloud. Okay, why cloud? What are the advantages of cloud? Okay, when the cloud has been originated, and in which model cloud business is been operating. Okay, cloud. The concept of cloud is originated by infrastructure as a service, where they want to offer their infrastructure as a service to the public so that they can use it. And second thing is, okay, so the cloud billing goes with okay, pay as you go model. Based on the number of minutes and seconds you use, you will be charged based on that. And we also talked about, okay, the project approach that we are going to take once we learn Linux is web applications, because the trend in the industry is web based applications. So keeping that context in mind, we are going to deploy to web applications, and we are going to take insight out of it. Okay, and also we saw that 80 to 85%, 75 to 80% of the market share is on Amazon cloud. Hence we are going to implement DevOps with AWS on the top of the AWS cloud. And as a part of the training, we are going to take 15 to 20 services on Amazon cloud, and you can all we are going to cover 15 to 20 DevOps tools. Once you complete the training, you can apply both for cloud jobs or DevOps jobs, okay, or site reliability engineering jobs. Okay, as a part of this training, we are going to invest more on observability as well. Okay, and also we saw that cloud business is okay. So the business is I mean, each and every company will sell its business or will do business based on different models. So in cloud, there are three different varieties of models. One of the model is infrastructure as a code, infrastructure as a service, where they offer infrastructure as service to others. And next is platform as a service, where they are going to offer platform as a service. And next is software as a service. Okay, so all these three things we saw in detail, and we also saw why in the space of cloud and DevOps, huge variety of jobs are there in the market. That also we have discussed. Okay, why huge variety of jobs, and why all of a sudden multiple jobs are there in the industry. That also we have seen. That also we have seen. Okay, these are the things that we have discussed yesterday. All right. And then we also saw that, okay, okay, what is an agile and how in agile methodology things are going to place is what we have learned. Okay, without delaying any further, let's proceed further. Okay, now guys, if you want to learn all these tools that I have mentioned, okay, if you want to learn Amazon cloud, or if you want to learn Google cloud, or if you want to implement this, or if you want to learn Linux, or if you want to know Jenkins, or if you want to implement Nexus, or if you want to do any of these tools, what is the very first thing that you should know? What is the very first thing that you should know? Anyone? Anyone? What is the first thing?
Linux.
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 Linux is the
Linux.
very first thing you should know.
Mm.
Without Linux, it's practically impossible to sustain. So that's where we are going to start things with Linux. Okay. So first, let's talk about Linux. Anyone know what is a Linux? What is a Linux? How many of you can know? How many of you are aware what is a Linux? Okay. So before that, okay. So in operating system, we have two varieties of operating systems, guys. Okay, we have two varieties of operating system, and one variety of operating system is graphical user interface. Okay, which is nothing but if you want to create a file, you need to click an option. If you want to play a movie, you need to click an option. If you want to delete the file, you need to click an option. If you want to restart your server, you need to go to shutdown button, and on the shutdown button, you need to click the power off, and it's going to restart, right? So likewise, each and every option is a graphical user interface, which a graphics is being shown in front of you with a list of options. Okay, that type of operating system is called as command line operating system. And another type of operating system is called as command line operating system, CLI. CLI stands for command line operating system. Okay, Linux is a command line operating system. Linux falls under the category of command line interface, which means if you want to create a file, you need to use a command. If you want to delete a file, you need to use a command. If you want to read a file, you want to use a command. If you want to restart a server, you need to use a command. If you want to update the IP address of the machine, you need to use a command. If you want to know what is the CPU, what is the memory of your computer, you need to use a command. Everything is command. You interact with the machine through the commands. For example, okay, I'm going to open something. Okay, so this is git bash. I'm going to tell you. For example, I'm using a command which is going to tell me what all I have. Okay, so likewise each and everything we are going to do it with commands. Okay, that type of approach is called as command line operating system. In the enterprise grade, what if I say 99% of the corporate and enterprise infrastructure is on the top of Linux? So what if I say, if I ask you what is the most asked, what is the most used operating system in the world, what will be your answer? It's a poll. What will be your answer? Anyone?
Windows.
Okay,
Windows.
Linux.
wash. Okay,
Linux,
next answer.
Linux.
Linux.
Uh,
Linux,
Okay, I got 6 Linux and 2 Windows. Anyone else?
Linux,
Linux 7,
Linux.
Windows.
Linux, Windows,
3, 9.
Windows.
Linux,
Anyone else? Linux,
Windows.
Linux.
Linux.
Mac,
Okay, Linux 15.
Linux.
Anyone else? 16.
Linux.
Linux. Wonderful. Total 17 people have mentioned as Linux and 4 of the people have mentioned as Windows. What if I say 99% of the corporate infrastructure and enterprise infrastructure is on the top of Linux? Okay, 99% of the corporate and enterprise infrastructure is completely on the top of Linux, and it's practically impossible to imagine the world without Linux. Linux is a command line operating system. Okay, so I'd like to show you with a proof what is the usage of, usage of
are
operating
you
system.
sharing anything?
Yes, I'm sharing.
Sorry, I will reach.
Okay, guys, in case if any one of you are having trouble seeing my screen, if my screen is coming in a very minimal screen, what you can do is in the middle of your screen, if in the middle of your screen you have an option, okay, with a drop down. The moment you click the drop down, you'll see multiple options. In that, one of the option is, okay, hide everyone. Okay, if you click the hide everyone option, you will see, okay, you'll see the required participants, or the your whatever I'm sharing will be fit to your screen. Please use that option. All right, guys. So let me show you from Wikipedia. What it is showing is, so this is from Wikipedia. Let me go here and see that option. Yeah, this is a very nice image which I use most of the times. It has information till 2020. If you see this, okay, in 1990, okay, if you see this in 1990, blue indicates Unix. Okay, blue indicates Unix, and Windows indicates blue. And if you see this, okay, by the time you come to 2000, 2010, 99.99% of the infrastructure, enterprise infrastructure, is on the top of Linux, on the top of Linux. So that much important Linux is. That much important Linux is. Okay, so there is a hard reason why Linux was so popular and why people adopted it so much. Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. Okay, so before that, okay, so before that, what I want to do is I want to tell you the business. Okay, okay. If I ask you who is the richest person in the world, okay, so when you are a kid, if someone asks you who was the richest person in the world for a long time, what will be your answer, guys? Who is the richest person in the world for a very long time? Anyone?
Bill
Bill,
Gates.
Bill Gates.
Bill
Bill
Gates.
Gates.
Not
Bill
even
Gates.
one answer I got apart from Bill Gates. I'll tell you why he was one of the richest person for a very long time. I'll tell you the strategy, and this is the strategy which made Linux very famous than Windows. Okay, let me tell you. So back in 90s, okay, in the 90s, 98, 1980s and all, okay, the very famous operating system was Microsoft DOS, MS-DOS. MS-DOS is a MS-DOS is also a command line operating system, but you need to pay. Okay, you need to pay for the license. License is nothing but they will give you the software. If you want to use the software, you need to buy the license and you need to enter the license, then only the operating system will work. Okay, this is also a command line operating system, and it is also a kind of hit model. But in 1985, a new operating system, okay, came it into the market, and that operating system is called as Unix. Unix. And Unix is an operating system which is developed keeping one particular hardware in mind. Okay, even though it is a command line operating system, if you want to use Unix command line operating system, what you need to do is you need to buy the hardware along with their operating system. So no doubt, okay, Unix operating system is very famous. Okay, a lot of companies, you name any big company, they have these Unix machines. And the best part of the Unix operating system is there are servers which are running from last 10 years, 15 years without even a reboot. That's the that's the stability and the ability of the command line operating system with respect to Unix. With respect to Unix, it's not like I'll buy a Lenovo computer and on the top of the computer I'll be using Unix. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, if you want to use Unix, you need to buy their hardware, and buying that hardware is going to make the affordability of the operating system a very costly affair. So at the time in US, only universities and only the rich business people used to afford the Unix operating system. No doubt it is a very very good thing, but at the same time it's an extremely costly thing. Okay, so it used to give extremely better stability and reliability, because if the hardware and the software is being manufactured and supplied by a single vendor, it will have better compatibility and better performance. Okay, and that's the reason why iPhone with a 2 GB of RAM and one processor gives you way better performance than any other Android phone. Okay, because the software and the hardware are being manufactured by the same Apple, so they know how the hardware and software works, making it one of the best machine, and at the same time making it one of the costliest thing as well. Okay, so and at 1985 there is a person called as Linus Torvalds. So he saw that, and he saw how the business is operating, and he decided to design an operating system which should be free, so he want to design an operating system, and he want to design an operating system where he want to make it absolutely free. Okay, where he want to make it absolutely free. All right, where he want to make it absolutely free. Just a second. Where you want to make it absolutely free. So but he don't know how to start and what to start. Okay, all right. Yeah, so he don't know where to start and what to start, but his intention is very 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 clear. He want to make a software that is accessible to everyone. So he started a project called as Linux kernel. Okay, so that's where the seeds of Linux were sown. Okay, Linux kernel. Okay, he started a project called as Linux kernel with a few aspects in mind. He want to develop a project which should be, okay, which should be an open source. Okay, which should be an open source. Should be open source. Okay, he want to make a operating system. He want to make an operating system which should be absolutely free. Okay, he want to make an operating system which is absolutely free. He want to make an operating system which is absolutely free. Okay, first thing what he want to make is he want to make first you want to make a, okay, free command line interface operating system. Okay, command line OS you want to make, and he want to make a software in such a way that which can run on anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you use, okay, a HP server, or whether you use a Cisco server, whether you use an IBM server. I don't care whichever hardware you use. Okay, it should run on any hardware irrespective of any restrictions. And the code should be, okay, the code should be, OS should be open source, and it should fall under the category of GNUX. GNUX stands for generally not Unix. Okay, no doubt the Linux command line operating system is developed keeping Unix operating system as a reference in mind, but it is not a copy. Okay, GNUX stands for generally not Unix. Okay, this is the standard. So what he did was he started a project called as Linux kernel, where he has given a call to all the developers across the world, telling that, hey guys, I would like to develop a software or an operating system which should have the capability to run across the world, and I want to make it absolutely free, where everyone, anyone should be able to access, and at the same time they should have the accessibility and the feasibility to run on any hardware. That's the thing. Okay, so with that context in mind, Linus Torvalds has started the project. Now if I ask you one question, what do you mean, what is an open source? What will be your answer? Anyone? I ask you open source
Free,
software,
free to
Free
use.
to download.
Nothing
okay,
to
free
pay.
to download,
Free to use.
without
Anyone can
any, which is
use
used
free.
without any
Free to
license.
use.
okay.
We don't
So
have to
first thing
pay
is,
money for a license.
mhm, all right. So okay, but small corrections, you are almost right, but small corrections. An open source software may or may not be free. Keep this point in mind, guys. This is very important, which majority of the people fail to understand. An open source software may or may not be free. Okay, if you think that an open source software is a free, that's absolutely wrong. Okay, and second thing, can you, okay, the code of the software should always be open. Code of the software should always be open. Okay, the code of the software should always be open. Okay, that means, for example, if you want to add some feature or if you want to do some changes to the Windows, can you do that? Definitely no. Windows is not an open source software where the code is not open to the public. When someone says there's a software is open source, that means the code of the software is open, and at the same time, the software may or may not be free. Okay, the software may or may not be free. Certain times it will be free, and certain times may or may not be free. And you may or may not have support. May or may not have support. Okay, these things you should know very very quick. You should be very prompt on this, because in calls, if someone says that this is an open source, it should not give you an impression that it is a free software. Okay, all right. So if someone says the open software is open source, these are the things that you need to understand. The code may or may not be open. Okay, and it may or may not have an enterprise support, but at any point of time the code of the software should be open. Keeping that in mind, okay, the Linux operating system has been developed. Okay, if I ask you Linux is an operating system, if someone asks me Linux is an operating system, I will say Linux is an operating system. It's not an operating system. I'll say it is a kernel. Okay, so what is a Linux kernel? Anyone anyone what is a Linux kernel? Anyone? Or any kernel? So Linux kernel or a kernel is something which is the first layer, okay, the fundamental of part of your operating system, okay, which is the layer which directly interacts with the system hardware. Okay, Linux is a first layer of your operating system which helps you in establishing communication to your hardware. And the toughest part of developing or writing any operating system is developing a kernel itself. Okay, if kernel is there, you can, okay, if kernel is there, you can start developing operating system. Okay, so Linux is something which is being developed by, okay, which is
So
being
you
developed
mean
by,
in every operating system there is a kernel?
yes, you are 100% right. Okay, it's a low
Yes,
level
yes.
operating system, you can consider it as, okay, it's the first layer of any operating system which will have kernel, any operating system. All right, perfect. So Linux is the first layer of any operating system, that is a layer or the foundation part of the operating system which interacts with the hardware. Okay, which is the toughest thing to develop. Okay, keeping this open source in mind, open source Linux in mind, there are 300 plus flavors and versions of Linux. You go to any interview, they'll ask you what all flavors of Linux have you worked. Okay, what all flavors of Linux you have worked, what all flavors of Linux you worked, or which flavor of Linux. Okay, this is the question. You, if most of the companies, they would start with, okay, you know Linux, you mentioned Linux, which all flavors of Linux do you know? That will be the first question. Okay, since Linux is an open source, there are officially 300 plus flavors of Linux are available. Okay, so for example, Facebook has its own version of Linux. google Google has their own version of Linux. Okay, Twitter has their own version of Linux. Okay, so IBM has their own version of Linux. Okay, so if you want to see how many flavors and how many versions of Linux are available, okay, so let me show you. Okay, let me show you how many flavors of Linux are available. Uh, so Linux distributions. Some nice images which shows you that. Yeah, this is the image I would like to show. So these many flavors and versions of Linux are there from 1992 to okay till 2022. These many flavors and versions of Linux are available. Since it is an open source, anyone can take it and they can apply the changes to whatever they want. Okay, all right, guys. Okay, since these many flavors and versions of Linux are available. So when you talk about flavor or distribution, I'm referring to the brand name. Okay, vendor. Okay, so these many flavors and versions of Linux are available. Okay, there are 300 plus 300 plus. Okay, version. Okay, 300 plus. Okay, few people call it as a flavors, or few people will call it as a distributions. Okay, in both the sense they are referring to the brand name of the vendor. Okay, so in Linux there are in general, okay, majorly there are two varieties. Okay, two types of Linux are available. One of them is one of them is Red Hat Linux, and another is Ubuntu based machine. Okay, whatever the flavors, whatever the distributions that you see here, everything is being developed by taking that as a reference. For example, you take Red Hat. Okay, Red Hat is also a brand. So from the Red Hat, what these guys did is, okay, so they have copied, okay, I'll call it as a clone. Clone is a word. They have taken the code and they branded it as a CentOS and they started distributing it. And someone else, what they did is, someone has taken the code from Red Hat Enterprise and they added some features and they branded it as Oracle Enterprise and they're distributing it. Okay, someone has taken the code as CentOS and they started distributing it. And someone from the CentOS again they cloned it and distributing it as Aztec Home. And someone from Aztec has copied the code and they named it as Trixbox. So as per the business requirement, everyone has the opportunity to customize the flavor, and that's the reason you have 300 plus varieties of Linux are there. Hey Manu, do you think that I need to learn all the 300 plus flavors of Linux? Definitely no. Definitely no. If you know one Linux and rest of the other Linux also works the same way. Okay, in market, the very famous, very famous machine is okay. So what are the widely used? Even in interview, if they ask you what all you have used, you just need to tell this. Okay, what are the widely used Linux flavors at corporate? Okay, the first answer is Red Hat or CentOS. Red Hat and CentOS, both of them are almost same. And second thing is Ubuntu or Debian. Even this is also widely used. So among all, Red Hat has a very good image of Red Hat has a very good image of widely used, and because of its XYZ features, which I'm going to talk now. Okay, so in this training also we are going to consume Red Hat or CentOS. Okay, so Red Hat is one of the company which has 80+% of the corporate companies, banks, enterprise companies, everyone uses Red Hat based Linux. Okay, so that I'll tell you the reason why it's very famous. Okay, so when you are buying, if you are based out of India, guys, if you are buying any car, what is the factors that you'll choose? Anyone? If you want to buy any product, what is the very first thing that you'll check? What is the very first thing? Anyone? Anyone?
Brand.
Okay, brand. Why brand? Why brand? Then someone said brand. First you look at the brand. Why brand? If a brand has to establish that brand value, what is the first thing that they look? You consider Nike.
Sec-
Okay, the moment you say
Security.
okay, security is the second thing. Wonderful. Brand value, security are the two factors that you look when you are selecting a product. Why brand?
Old one seems like 100 years back or 50 years back.
Okay, how old it is? Somehow
Yeah.
it's looking like a wine. More old.
Features.
Okay, jokes apart.
Uh,
Yeah,
Features.
I guess
Features.
feature.
customer satisfaction.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Customer satisfaction or UX. Customer experience. Okay. So among all, okay, if they want to achieve the brand value, they need to achieve first. Okay, if something has to be considered as a brand, or if something has to recognize the value of a brand, if they want to achieve the brand value, okay, they need to establish the customer experience first. Okay, customer satisfaction is important. So the moment I say shoes, the very first brand that comes into your mind is Nike. You take Nike shoes, you buy shoes in Nike showroom, you use the shoes, you do for running, you go for a walk, everything. After 3 weeks you go and say that, hey, these shoes are somehow, I'm not comfortable when I'm walking, I'm not feeling comfortable with the shoes. What these guys say? What these guys say, guys? Anyone can tell me what the Nike shop or Nike vendor will say? Anyone? Anyone tried it?
I think
Immediately they'll give you
we
a
can
replacement
replace
or
with
reimbursement.
yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly the customer satisfaction is something along with the features or the comfort is going to enhance the brand value of it. And how old is it? Nike's almost been there in the industry and a leader from almost 40 years in the shoes industry. Obviously, that makes one of the top brand, right? So that means the brand value, security, and support. If you're in trouble, how quick the issue is resolved. For example, you go to the Nike showroom, and if they say there are two answers, they might tell, okay, sir, give me this shoe, sir. I'll send it to the lab, and you'll get the report after 2 weeks. And once my company or my manager says I can give you, or they can tell you whether they can repair the shoes or they can replace the shoes, tell you. But you need to wait for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you come to my showroom, and then I'll tell my what my manager said. And after 15 days again, if the customer goes, if the vendor says that, sir, my manager said that we cannot exchange the shoes because it is missing the tag, so you need to bear with the shoes. That is one first one. And second experience is, okay, you go to the vendor and they respect your opinion. As a Nike customer, they respect your opinion, and the person in the shop has asked you, sir, whether you want replacement of it or you want a full refund of it. So you said, I want full refund of it or I want replacement of the shoes. They did a replacement on the same time. Which one of the experience gives you the better brand value? Which one? First option or second one?
Second option.
Obviously,
Second
second
option.
one.
Second option.
Obviously, second one. That's exactly falls under the category of support. How well your people, your product, okay, your the team from the product is supporting you is something which designates the brand value. Okay, so the next time when you want to buy shoes or you deliberately unintentionally tell to others Nike is one of the best time they support customers, for them customer experience is the best, right? Even if it is 2000 rupees extra, you still go and buy Nike shoes only. That's exactly Red Hat has done. Okay, so there are a lot of varieties. Okay, there are a lot of flavors in Linux are there, but Red Hat, okay, Red Hat in the paid version they offer support, and the support offered by them is phenomenally good. Okay, the moment you go to them telling that in my Linux machine I'm having a trouble, we are assuming that the performance of that performance issues in the machine are based off operating system, can you please check that, or I'm ran into issue, I need a help. They give you one of the best in class support. And that's the reason, if in an organization, okay, if in an organization, if they are having if they are having 1,000 machines, okay, and guys, Red Hat operating system and CentOS, both of them are same. Okay, the cloned version of, okay, Red Hat is CentOS. Okay, it's exactly clone, but it comes with enterprise support and it don't come up with enterprise support. Okay, so if you're having 1,000 machines, okay, because of that, okay, so in corporate no one want to take the blame on their head. Okay, so even though if they charge you 100 extra, they always prefer going to the product which gives you the better experience. Okay, and but Red Hat is very costly support. I'm telling, Red Hat is very costly support. So what people typically do is to avoid the support, if you're having 250 machines of production and 250 machines of non-production and 250 machines of test machines and 250 machines of development machines, typically they go with, okay, first production they go with Red Hat majority of the times, and non-production also they go with Red Hat, and test machines they go with CentOS. CentOS and Red Hat, as I said, both of them are clone. And second, development machines also they go with. CentOS. You go to any company, majority of the times you see Red Hat or CentOS in their infrastructure. And that's the reason in our training also we are going to consume only the Red Hat based machines. Okay, Red Hat or CentOS based machines only. Debian based machines are also popular, that they are not much great. So since 70 to 85% of the customers uses Red Hat or CentOS, in our training we are going to select this. Now, since Red Hat is a operating system which is taken from the open source community, okay, there is a hard rule. Even though you have branded your software as an enterprise software, you still need to make it as an open source. Okay, even the Red Hat Linux operating system should always be kept open. Okay, so for example, I have made a software Red Hat. I have made a software Red Hat. And if you have taken the code from me, and you cannot say that it's my code and I don't want to make it public. Definitely no. If you have taken the code from the open source, you always need to keep the code open. Okay, for example, Red Hat. I have cloned the code from the Red Hat and I rebranded it as a Green Hat and I'm selling the software and I'm keeping the code close. No, that then it's not considered as an open source feature. If you want to use open source software and if you want to modify it, you also need to keep the software open. And and one more very important point, if you are making money, this is very important, keep this point in mind, guys. If you are making money from an open source software, you may have to pay license. You may have to pay some license to them. Okay, for example, if you take here in the Red Hat, okay, the okay, Oracle Linux have cloned the code. Can you see this here? Oracle has copied the code. Oracle Linux, Oracle Enterprise is cloned from Red Hat, okay, and they are redistributing it and selling it, right? So here Oracle have to pay for Red Hat. Okay, this is very important. And as I said, Red Hat operating system licensing is very costly. Okay, so I want to tell you how licensing and how the costing in Linux world works, because when you go to any interview or when you are one of the decision maker in choosing appropriate software, end of the day money matters. End of the day money matters. So you'll get a very good reputation in any company if you try to portray yourself as a company person who saves some amount of money to the company. Obviously your reputation in the company will be phenomenally increasing. So if you want to do that, you should know how business works, how the licensing model works, and based on that you can establish suggestions. Okay, so before we proceed, I want to tell you how the licensing model works and then how it works in Red Hat or in license. Okay, for example, guys, the in the beginning of the session, I have asked you, if I ask you who is the richest person in the world, okay, for a very long time, majority, not majority, everyone said that Bill Gates. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. For example, you have taken a personal computer, okay, on the top of the personal computer, you have installed Linux. You have installed Windows. Okay, you have installed Windows and it is home, okay, for your personal work, to learn MS Office or to do something for your personal purpose, for personal use. You bought a Windows operating system, and typically how much you pay for Windows license? Anyone? 5,000 rupees, for example.
7 to
5,000 rupees.
8,000. Yes.
Yeah, 5 to 8,000. Let's keep it very simple. 5,000 you pay, and if you pay, you can use it lifelong. For example, if you paid license for Windows 8, and if Windows 10 is released or Windows 11 is released, majority of the times they'll give you free update, right? Agree or not? You can use lifetime. But in corporate it's not like that. If the same license, okay, if the same computer, okay, if the same computer is bought by, for example, this is a computer, okay, which is being given in a corporate company like IBM or Cognizant, okay, so they bought a computer and they want to give you a license, okay, because corporate companies don't use cracked version. Okay, if they go with cracked version, Microsoft will sue them. Okay, not just them, and they will have some corporate audits will happen. And if they, let's not talk about that. So in corporate, how licensing model works is a little different. Okay, in corporate, how licensing model works is little different. For example, if you buy a computer, this is the computer which you have bought or your company bought, and the same Windows Professional Edition they bought, Windows Professional. their licensing model is little different. Okay, it's not like you bought the license. Okay, so for professional, obviously if you are making money from a software, Windows will charge you more. You need to pay 10,000, and at the same time, for every 3 years once you need to renew it. Every 3 years you need to renew the license. It's not like I got the license in 2011, I'll use it till 2018. No, for every 3 years once you need to pay 10,000. Got it? What if your company has 10,000 employees, 10,000 machines? If, for example, you take a company called Google. Google has 10 lakh employees. Do you think that they can afford 10? How much are they going to afford to renew the computer license? Don't you think it's going to be a very costly thing? This is one of the licensing model which made very higher revenue in in Microsoft space. And second thing, you take a for example, you take a server, okay, Windows server, the same Windows server. You take a Windows server, okay, you take a Windows server, and on the top of the Windows server, so for example, this is a Windows server. Let's take this Windows server. Let's take this Windows server. This is a Windows server, and on the top of the Windows server, okay, I'm very bad at drawing, so you need to bear with me on this. Okay, this is a Windows server. This is a Windows server. Okay, this is a Windows server. So on the top of the Windows server, okay, for example, this is a Windows server which is being used by, okay, okay, for example, okay. So this server is used by 500 people. Okay, this server is used by 500 people. Server is something which is created to entertain hundreds and thousands of people. For example, you join a company. What do they do when you join a company? First, they'll create a user account on the top of Windows Server, Windows Active Directory. And using those credentials, you are going to sign into your HR portal, your leaves portal, your taxation portal, your Form 16 portal with the same IDs you'll use, right? They use something called as Windows Active Directory. So that means if 500 people user accounts are created on the top of, if 500 people user accounts are created on the top of Windows Server, it's not like you just need to pay 15,000 rupees and you use it. No, here the licensing is based on the number of users. Let me show you. So Red Hat, okay, Windows license, Windows Server 2022 license. Okay, Windows Server. Can you see this? How much it costs? So let's, for example, you take one and you take $428. Let's see what they'll tell. See, so the licensing cost, Windows Server cost is 2022 is for 16 cores. That means if your server is having 16 processors, then you need to pay this much. Okay, also they'll tell you certain number of users. Okay, they didn't mention the users. Okay, so based on the number of users and based on the number of, okay, based on the number of, can you see this? Yeah, this is what I'm referring. Can you see this? Guys, can you see this? You pay to $1,900, but you can use 20 users. Can you see this? And you pay $4,740. You can use this 50. Okay, your licensing of the server is dependent on the number of servers that you're creating. Don't you think it's going to make extremely costly thing? What if a company has 10,000 Windows servers? Do you think that they end up paying huge amount, hectic amount to Microsoft? And this is something this is something which has energized, which has boosted up the open source community to develop the softwares and distribute the software for free. Got it? And in Red Hat it doesn't work that way. For example, if you take Red Hat license model, let's have subscription cost. Here we call it as a subscription. Okay, Red Hat subscription. Red Hat license model, Red Hat support models. So let me go to Red Hat Red Hat license support models. This is a subscription guide. Where do I get that? Just a second. I'm not getting. Red Hat weekday support, production support, terms of services. See, if you see this here, their support is based on the number of business hours. Okay, for example, if you want weekday support, how much you need to pay. If you want weekend support, how much you need to pay. If you want 24 by 7 support, how much you need to pay. So their support is based on that, not based on the number of users. Okay, so these things have made, okay, these things have made the open source Linux a huge asset and a huge booster in the development of it. Okay, and for example, a startup cannot afford 5,000 servers of Windows, but they can afford Linux. Since the usage of Linux market is really high, okay, since the usage of Red Hat market, since the usage of Linux market is very, very high, the adoption and the application development on the Linux grade is really high. And that's a mandatory, and that's why it's very, very mandatory. You need to know Linux. Okay, so that's how things are. And second important thing is, okay, and second important thing is, okay, that I would like to tell. And Red Hat may or may not be free. For example, Red Hat. Okay, you're using a Red Hat. For example, Red Hat has both, okay, uh, desktop model and server model. Desktop model and server model. For example, for the same desktop, okay, for example, for the same operating system, if you're using as a personal user, it's free. For example, if the same Red Hat company, Red Hat computer is given to you, okay, by your, okay, if it is being given by your corporate, corporate has to pay license. Okay, okay. In the, as I said, in the open source community, if a software is free, if a software is open source, and if you're not making money out of it, majority of the times you don't have to pay. And if it is a server model, you need to pay. You need to pay license based on the support you opt. Okay, so if I'm designing any solution, or if I have to suggest in my company, Red Hat is the first suggestion that I'll give to my company. And these are the few factors, that subscription cost and the licensing model is something which made Red Hat one of the popular choice. Okay, one of the popular choice. So Manu, if Red Hat is that much important, if Red Hat is that much important, how can I learn Linux? So when I'm taking a poll, majority of the people don't know Linux. So how can I learn Linux? How can I learn Linux? It's very, very easy, guys. Okay, here are the available options to that you can learn Linux. Okay, either if yours is a Linux computer, you can learn Linux. And second option is, you can install VirtualBox on your computer and install Linux on top of it. This is one option. And there are some other options in the internet called as Katacoda, where they'll give you Linux terminal. Katacoda Linux. Okay, these a lot of options are available. So where these guys give you Linux temporarily. So this is also one option. And the third and fourth important option is, okay, so use Katacoda. Okay, Katacoda. And third option is create a Linux server on AWS cloud and data server and learn Linux on it. So since majority of the options, okay, first three options are not production grade, I am not going to consider. In this training, I am going to consider the option, the production grade. Whatever the servers in enterprise we are going to use, only those servers I'm going to take and use it. Okay, so today today or tomorrow we are going to create a server on AWS, and then we are going to learn Linux on the top of it. Clear? So there are a lot of ways to learn Linux. One of the production grade approach is creating a server on the top of AWS and learning Linux on the top of it. So if you want to survive in the cloud and DevOps space, the first thing that you need to know is you need to know Linux. Without knowing Linux, so diving in DevOps and cloud is just like just diving without any proper guidance. So you'll waste a lot of time. All right, so we are going to do that. So if you want to create a server on AWS cloud, what you need to have, okay, if you want to create an AWS account, here is what you need. Okay, AWS, okay, you just type AWS, okay, click on the first link. Amazon is the first cloud account which has introduced the concept of free tier. Okay, so if you want to learn AWS, majority of the times without spending single penny, you can consume majority of the services absolutely free. Okay, when you create an account on AWS, okay, so you get an account for 12 months. Okay, I mean the account is always free. Okay, Amazon offers you some free services, okay, which you can use it as a part of our learning. The same services even in your enterprises they use. Okay, so as a part of the free tier, okay, you can use a server for 750 hours. For example, even if you run a server, okay, 24 hours, okay, 24 hours into 28 days, 24 hours into 28 days, still it's lesser than 750 hours. That means you can take a server and you can use it for 750 hours. And Amazon also offers you 5 GB disk for you. That means you can use a disk, 5 GB disk absolutely free. And then if you want to learn certain databases, or if you want to learn some some whatever it may be, everything are offered absolutely free. And if you want to create consume these services and learn cloud on it, you need to create an AWS account. Okay, so how do you create an AWS account? If you want to create an AWS account, what all are needed to create an AWS account? If you are based out of India or US, okay, to create an AWS offers you a free account for 1 year. And to have an AWS account, you need to have a valid email ID. You need to have a valid email address. Okay, you need to have a valid email address. You need to have a credit or debit card, preferably credit, preferably credit. So once you have it, okay, AWS takes ₹2 or $1 if you are in US to identify you as a human. And in less than 1 hour, or less than 1 hour, in less than 24 hours, your account will be activated. If you are having a credit card, try to use the credit card. Your account will be activated in less than 2 minutes. In US, I created an account. It took 2 minutes. In India, it took 1 to 2 hours of time to activate. Okay, prefer using debit card, credit card. Okay, how to create a account? So first, what you need to do is, I already have an account, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so you need to mention what is your email address and Cloud Manoj. Okay, you need to say verify email address, and then what will happen? Let me show you. AWS account creation. For each and everything, we have some nice documentation. Okay, so first you need to type AWS free tier account in your browser, and then just say create AWS account. And then you need to mention your email address. That should be a valid email address, and give the name and ensure verify your email address. The moment you say verify email address, you will get a one-time password to your account. And once you receive the one-time password to your one-time password to your email address, you need to enter that. Okay, and then it will ask you to set up your root password. Guys, this is the password which you will be using it to create to log into your AWS account. You need to type this, and then once you're done with this, okay, and once you're done with this, okay, you need to enter your complete details. Okay, you need to enter your full name, phone number, your address, and your postal code, and click continue. This continue will be the second step. And once it is done, okay, you need to enter your debit card and credit card information to sign up. Okay, it's 100% safe. Even governments across the world are trusting AWS. You can trust it. You can enter your credit card and debit card information. It's absolutely safe, by the way. And then you need to give your details. Also ensure you mention that you don't have a PAN card. The moment you say you have a PAN card, you'll be landed into few troubles. So PAN card is just like SSN in US and PAN card in India. So don't mention whether you have a PAN card, yes or no. Just tell that you don't have a PAN card and click continue. And the moment you say the continue, it will ask you which type of account you want, whether you want a basic account or a developer support account or a business support. If it is a business support, you need to pay $100 per month. And if it is a developer support, you need to pay $29 a month. If you are an individual user who want to learn, which gives you basic support, that is free. You absolutely get most of it in this account. So prefer to select free. So, and then once it is done, boom, that's it. You're good. You'll get an email telling that thank you for signing up. We are activating your account. You'll get an email. The moment you get this email, the moment you get this, you'll also get an email from AWS telling that your account is activated. Telling that your account is activated. Once your account is activated, all you need to do is you need to sign up. Okay, how do you sign up? Okay, so how do you sign up is AWS. Just type AWS and say I would like to sign in. Okay, I'm already signed in. That's it, it's not asking. So all you need to do is just type AWS, click on the first link only, click on the first link, click on the first link. And once you click that link, and then here you have two options. One is root user and another option is IAM user. What is an IAM user? We'll talk about it. It is called as access delegation. Which team can do what? Okay, so a Linux management team, Linux admin team should only have access to servers, and the storage team should have access only to servers, and the network team should only have access to the network. Likewise and like forth, will designate the things. And you need to always need to choose root account at this point of time, and then you need to enter the email address with which you have created. So this is the email address that I have created. Click that and enter the password. Okay, in my case, I have entered the password. Just sign in. The moment you sign in, this is how the portal looks like. This is how the portal looks like. So once the account is created, what all you need to do is something I'm going to tell you tomorrow. And before you come to tomorrow's class, I have a request to everyone. I want every one of you to, okay, so one more thing. What all softwares do I need? What all softwares, okay, do I need to install on my computer? Okay, so this is one of the this question I got yesterday. More than 10 to 15 people have asked me this question, so I would like to address this. So what all softwares do I need to install? Okay, it depends on the type of computer. For example, if you are Windows, if you are Windows user, I want you all to install these softwares. Okay, so you don't have to. Tomorrow I'll teach you what to install, how to install all these things. So git bash. Okay, so what is the purpose of it? I'll tell you all these things tomorrow. And next thing is I want every one of you to install Excel. That's it. These are the only two softwares that I need. Okay, I don't mind whether your computer have 8 GB memory or 16 GB memory. Even if your computer has very least privilege or very lesser resources also, that's fine. Okay, and if you are a Mac or Linux guy, if you're Mac or Linux user, that means if your computer is Mac or Linux, you don't need anything. So your computers will have a terminal by default. You will have a default terminal. You will have a default terminal and you can use it. You don't have to
And Git bash
anything.
and
Sorry.
Git bash Git
hmm
bash
hmm
Git bash is also by default in Linux and Mac.
Uh, no, you have a terminal. The reason why we want this is to connect to Linux servers. Okay, so the terminal is available in Linux machines by default. Okay, you right click your computer on Linux, you have an option called as terminal. If you're a Mac user, right click on your mouse, you have an option called as terminal. All right.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we have.
So I want every one of you to install Git Bash on the top of your computer. How to install Git Bash on the top of your computer? Just type Git Bash for Windows. Just type Git Bash for Windows. You click this, and the first option, just click download. It's going to download that software. It's a 50 MB software. All you need to do is just type this. Okay. So that software is already installed on my computer, but I'll show you. Click this. Okay, you will get a prompt just like how you install VLC player. You just need to say next, 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 next. That's it. Next, next. Okay, just go with use open build. Okay, go with the default options. Next. Okay, you just click install. It's going to install on your computer and then restart. That's it. Once you're done, you're good. You can connect to the Linux machines. That's it. You're good. Okay, or if you don't like Git Bash, you can also use Putty. But how to do that and all, we'll talk about it in tomorrow's session. Okay. All right. Now you can also, I want to tell you one more thing. Okay. So in which environment, okay, in which region, okay. So AWS has, okay. So AWS has their infrastructure across the world. So in which place we are going to cover. So how companies choose. First, let's see this. AWS global infrastructure map. Global infrastructure map. Uh, so AWS. So let me show you one image. Yeah. So guys, AWS has footprint across the world. Okay. So for example, we have this image is not clear. Uh, okay, that's fine. Let's use this image only. Okay. So guys, if you see this, okay, if you see this, okay, AWS have services or AWS have their infrastructure across the world. Okay, so you can ask, for example, if you're doing business in India, you cannot create infrastructure or your services in North Virginia. Okay, you cannot create infrastructure in North Virginia. Okay, so I think I got the link. Let me show you that. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so in total Amazon has, okay, has presence in 31 regions. Okay, 19 in availability zones. Okay, what exactly meant. So if you see this here, okay, so in an entire world, in our entire planet, okay, if you could see, it has 8 regions in 6 regions. Okay, that means in 6 different regions in United States Amazon has. Okay, in India, okay, we have Mumbai and Hyderabad. Okay, and in South America it has it in okay, Sao Paulo, and in Africa it has in Cape Town, and it's and in Australia it has in Sydney and Melbourne. And in Melbourne, if you see, just in 2023 they started. Okay, in the entire AWS cloud, North Virginia is something which is started its operation in 2006. 2006. So, and the billing, for example, if you create a server in India, the hourly cost might be 100 rupees. If you create the same server in North Virginia, it will cost you 500 rupees. Okay, based on the local government, local policies, and local taxation policies, the billing will be varying. Okay, and in this training we'll also teach about how data we need to organize the data. So for example, if you are doing business in India, okay, you cannot store your data in a different country like Australia. For example, if for example, if it is a bank project, okay, Bank of Australia or something, if your infrastructure has to be created here and the data also has to be stored here, it's not like you'll store the data in China or Thailand. No. Okay, so based on where you're doing business, you need to create your infrastructure in that respective region only. Okay, so in total, and here red indicates the infrastructure creation is still in progress, and here Hyderabad is something which was started, okay, in 2022 September or October. It is in the orange state for almost 3 years. Okay, Amazon takes almost 2 to 3 years to create a world-class data center. Okay, so in total they have, these many 31 regions and 99 availability zones. Okay, so what is an availability zone? Okay, what is a region? We'll talk about all these things, but for now, in 31 different regions across the globe, you can create the infrastructure. In our training, I'll show you wherever you want to create, but I prefer to go with the regions which is having very lesser billing and which will cost you very lesser amount. Okay, keeping that in that context in mind, we are going to proceed further. Okay, so the goal for tomorrow we are going to understand certain basics of Amazon cloud once your account is created, and then we'll start creating our AWS server, and then we'll start hitting our Linux learning. All right, clear guys? Is it clear? Any questions, anyone?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
That's clear. That's clear.
Perfect.
Sir,
Since
can
the
you go to
session,
the back page where
uh-huh,
you defined? Can you go to the back page? I want to take the screenshots of notes.
mhm,
Uh, Not the data centers page, where
mhm,
you mentioned the Linux. Hello,
which Linux? I didn't get that.
the Linux terminology. Yes, yeah. Suppose this page and upper. Just one minute. Just
You do, and one more thing, guys. One more thing. Don't take any notes. The whatever the notes that we're taking, everything will be published with you. For example, this is my current batch. Every one of you,
okay.
once you are onboarded, you will get access to a Google document like this. Okay, which will have access to everything. What is the Miro board link? What is the playlist? And where you'll get the documentation. Everything, okay, will be shared with you. You don't have to take any notes during the class. Okay, everything will be
Okay.
published to you. And today I have
Okay.
demonstrated how to create an AWS account. That document also it will be published in some time. All right. So
Okay.
this is the standard. Okay, this is the standard that we follow during class. You don't have to take notes. Okay, we will share you the recording after every session. Okay? Once you're onboarded, majority of the people confirmed their onboarding. Once you're onboarded, you'll be given complete access. Okay, so if you wish to make notes, I always encourage make your own notes, but not during the session. That's the only request. Okay, the Miro board, okay, everything. So I don't come up with pre-planned, or I don't bring up any ready-made slides. I'll try to keep it as live as possible. Okay, so that you will also know how to use certain tools, all these things. Okay, and one more very important update, guys. So for the next 1 week, okay, for the meeting link remains the same. Next 3 to 5 days, okay, you can use the same meeting link. Okay, meeting link remains the same, and tomorrow meeting starts the same time, 7:30 IST or 9 p.m. Eastern. Meeting link remains the same, and I started sharing the videos to you. If you have not if you have not received the session recordings to you, please reach out to the coordinator. Okay, he will be having the details, and if I am the one who has shared you the meeting link, definitely I would have sent you. And yeah, that's for today. And again, I'm telling you, tomorrow for the next 5 days, meeting link remains the same, and okay, meeting link remains the same, and session timings will be the same, 7:30 morning India time or evening 9 Eastern. Okay, and that's for today, guys. Any questions, anyone? And here we have a few things, right? What is availability zone, what is region, what is point of presence? These are very important, which we'll talk about it in tomorrow in the session. And that's for today. Any questions, anyone? And we are good for today. I'm here to take up questions. If you have any questions, you are always open to ask. And every session, at the end of the session, I'll open uh, questions session, questionnaire. You can ask any questions. Any questions, anyone?
Hey, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, guys, can you hear me so far?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Any questions,
Uh,
anyone? Yeah,
right.
please tell me.
So today is my first day. I haven't joined
Uh-huh.
yesterday, and
Okay.
got your link from one of my friend. So wanted to know that what could be contact details and what could be procedure to if I want to onboard to this
Yeah,
sessions.
sure thing. Sure thing. You'll get everything. Okay, you'll get everything. So just reach out to your friend or I just message you. Okay, you can talk to me offline. Okay, I can route you to the appropriate person. Okay, all right.
You message me where? I
In
didn't
this
receive my.
in the same channel.
Okay, I don't see that.
All right, just a second. How about now?
Mm,
That's
anyways,
Charan, right?
no, no, it's just Samid, your
Ah, okay.
SMWD. It's just Samid,
Uh,
SMWD, Samid Sheikh.
I think you didn't message. You didn't enter your name. That's why I'm not
I
able.
I just uh, I just message you in the chat. Can you see my chat message? You don't see
Yeah,
my
I get
message?
it. I get it.
Okay,
Okay, so you can use the same link to connect. Okay, and the meeting link remains the same, and please use it to join. Okay,
sure.
all right, and thank you guys. Okay, any questions, anyone? And we go very interactive, guys. We'll try to keep things little pace. In the first 1 week or 2 weeks, we'll go little slow because you and me are both two different frequencies. So for the frequency to match, it will take at least 1 to 2 weeks of time. For the next 1 to 2 weeks of time, we'll try to go highly interactive, keeping the real aspects and approaches in mind. Okay, so we also talk majorly about security, billing, all these things because in interview, okay, technology you get everywhere, but the aspects, strategy, billing, how you deal the things, if someone asks you how you respond, these are the things that came up through all these things. Okay, all right, guys.
Thanks, Manoj.
Perfect. Okay, and Samit, as
Okay.
you have not missed really anything, yesterday we had a demo. I can forward you the meeting link as well to you. That should not be an issue.
Thanks, thanks. That will be great.
Yeah, thank you. I just messaged the meeting link to you. Any questions, anyone? Also, yesterday, many of the people have messaged me, what is this I'm using, how all these things are going. So this is one of the productivity tool, guys. So I write the things what I want to do. So for example, when you're using laptop or when you're using any browser, in our day, 80% of the job will be done on the browser, right? So if you want to do something, definitely we miss, okay, since we open multiple tabs and all. Okay, so since I deal with people across the world, I use multiple times, and this is a to-do list I make. And if you want to use this page, there is a nice plugin called as start.me. Okay, this is the plugin that you need to use. So if you use start.me, okay, it will ask you add the go extensions, for example, start.me. Okay, so all you need to do is you just need to, okay, sign in and add this plugin. That's it. Okay, it's going to make your life more easy and highly productive. All right, so for whatever you want to do, you can search and add it here. For example, if you want to do something, if you want to add any, okay, you want to see currency converter. Okay, so if you want to see currency converter about India, based on your business, you can customize it. So you can add the widget here, it comes up. Okay, so whatever I want to do in my day to day, I'll keep the things here so that I don't lose track of it. That's it. It's nothing else. It's just a Google Chrome plugin. Start.me. All right, guys. That's it. And again, I'm repeating. So meeting link remains the same for the next 5 days. And tomorrow meeting starts at, okay, tomorrow meeting starts at the same 7:30 a.m. IST or 9 p.m. EST. And that's for today, guys. You'll get the meeting link in a few minutes. And thank you very much. And that's for today. Okay. See you guys.
Thank you, Manoj.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank
Manoj.
you, sir.
Naresh,
Thank you.
who has shared the meeting link? Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, sir.
you, Manoj, for the session.